Welcome everyone, and thank you, Jennifer, for saying yes and being here. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really excited to be here, and I'm excited to share all of my numbers transparently because I made these graphs last night and they look amazing. So,
That's super cool. I really appreciate it. For anyone that doesn't know you too much, like, who are you? What do you do? Like, what are your channels? Everything. Can you give us like a bit of the overview?
oh my gosh, it's kind of chaotic, which I guess is on brand for me. So, my main channel is Instagram. I have almost 70K followers there because I went viral a few times for my unhinged productivity and organization tips because I track my entire life, like from the time that I spend on things to like how many times I cried, things like that. And then once that took off, I started building in public my newsletter and my creator brand. And I post all of my building public posts on Twitter. And I guess a lot of people there found my newsletter tips very helpful. So I grew a following there too. And I had like two separate brands here. So for my Instagram and my newsletter, I grew to like 40,000 followers and I think like 11 or 12K subscribers in two
Oh,
weeks. And that was when like all my videos were going
wow.
viral.
Yeah.
And then for Twitter, I grew to like just almost 1,000 followers in I think it was 3 months, 3 or 4 months. So Twitter was a bit slower, but I didn't really go viral multiple times. So yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool. Because one of the things that I loved about you, and that because I actually found you on Twitter. I didn't find you on Instagram. I found you on Twitter. So I was like, this person is so cool because you share like everything super openly. Like I would say, like transparency is like super. I mean, it's big part of your brand, right? You share like all of the numbers. Like you are asking questions all the time. Like how should I do this? Like you're super building public. So I was wondering, like, why did you choose this angle, for like your content and so on? Why are you so open with it? Like, do you is that something that it's a strategic decision? I understand it is, but why did you choose it?
Yeah, I think it just came naturally to me because I'm the type of person who posts about their life online a lot, like on my Instagram story. So kind of posting about my business on Twitter made sense to me. And it's like it's not my first startup, but it's my first time building a creative brand. So
Yeah,
I wanted to get feedback from other people because I'm like building it by myself and I didn't want to feel alone. So having other people there to support me really helped with the motivation. And I also wanted to help people because I decided my personal lifestyle or personal North Star metric was to positively impact as many people as I can. And I could do that by
nice.
sharing what I'm learning. And I'm a huge believer in collaboration over competition. So whenever I get comments like, this is so helpful for my own newsletter, like it really motivates me to keep going and keep sharing.
Okay, yeah, that's super cool. I love that angle and that vibe, and I think it really works. In your case, because you actually like one of your. I mean, we can talk about like your products, like everything that you have, but the one that got my attention was that your behind the scenes kind of newsletter where you share openly all the metrics. I think you actually brought some of the metrics to for us to see today. So I was wondering, like, because you actually get people to pay for you to share that, right? Like you get, is that like a paid subscription? So how does that work? Can you tell us a bit more about like that part of your business?
Yeah, I don't even know why I decided to do it, but when my free productivity newsletter took off, I opened the premium one just because I saw that was an option
Hmm.
that I could do. And I think the premium one is a completely separate brand because that one's more built in public, and then the free one is like productivity. So I might actually make two different newsletters.
Hmm.
For the paid one, I include a lot of templates and just like additional information. And I think that's because I've always wanted somewhere where I can document all of this since I'm a person who likes to track things and like document
Hmm.
everything. Like I've journaled everything since like 2015. Every single day I wrote down what
Oh,
I do.
yeah.
So it's like I don't want to forget this. So I want to document how I'm building things. And that kind of just led to the premium newsletter naturally. Some things I wasn't like super confident sharing like publicly for
Mm.
anyone to see. So then I just put it behind a paywall. And then people have emailed me saying that it's helpful to look at the real numbers. But at the same time, the stuff that I am confident sharing in public, I also make a YouTube video about it. So
Okay.
the distribution and repurposing is like, I tweet stuff that I learned throughout the week, and then whichever tweet does the best or I like the most, I turn that into my premium newsletter, and then that becomes my YouTube script, and then I like fix it up a little bit with the hooks, and then I film a YouTube video about it, and then I promote the YouTube video in my premium newsletter the next week or in my Twitter.
Yeah, that's really interesting that you have like this content strategy that's based on like proven content, right? If it resonates, it means that it's an interesting thing to expand on. I think that's super smart, actually. And but the other thing that struck me, like from in your case, like in your business, is that as you said, you have like kind of two separate brands. There is like your Instagram brand, which is productivity stuff like that, and then there is like the other, like I don't know how to say, like Jennifer the creator, where you share like how you are building your creator business, on that side. So like, how do you think about those? Because I understand it's something that you might be struggling a little bit with, because I've seen it with other creators that have like the similar thing. So how do you think, like, how do you manage those two like brands right now?
Yeah, I think those two brands it's kind of confusing because I've always had trouble focusing on one thing that I wanted to do since I see myself as more of a generalist. I
Mm,
like doing a lot of things. That's why I work with startups because you kind of have to do everything in a startup.
yeah.
So right now it's a little confusing because I think I'm struggling with something a lot of people would love to struggle with, which is like too many people are asking me for help, but it's like for completely different things. So when you get a lot of requests for like Notion organization stuff, and then also like newsletter building stuff, it's like you kind of spread very thin, and you have a lot of
Yeah.
different things to think about. Whereas if I had just focused on one thing, I would be like, this is
Mm.
my offer, like you have to take it or leave it. So like I can go into my revenue streams and like all these different
Yeah.
clients, but um basically it's something that I'm still struggling with, but I'm right now like I'm trying to focus on what has the highest ROI, which
Yeah.
is why I track everything. Because like in some of my graphs you'll see the ROI chart because I track all my time, but then I also track how much money I'm making, so I just
That's cool. Yeah.
um, do the graph there.
Yeah.
um,
Maybe we can take a look and just chat through it, because I think that's super interesting that you do that. Because an early stage, I've seen also like a lot of creators do the same. Like, we do like many things because we don't know exactly what's like our thing or
yeah.
what we like to do the most. But many people don't track it. They don't do this exercise that you do. Like, okay, what brings me the more money for the time invested, right? So I think that what you're doing is super interesting.
Thanks.
Um,
I think I used to track, like I used to actually be in like the food and travel niche,
mm,
but um a lot of it's not just the tracking stuff because then I could have looked at everything that was doing well in my videos in that niche or like
yeah.
doing competitor research on other people in that niche. But some of it is also instinct and what you think people will like. So for example, the videos that I went viral were things that my friends already told me were super cool that they really
Mm,
liked. So I posted it on TikTok first, but it didn't really get much traction. So I had to post it again multiple times on different platforms as well for it to pick up. And it picked up around New Year's, which was when people were starting
mm,
to get into like habit tracking and goal setting. So the timing also matters a lot, and like
yeah.
understanding like the trends and what's gonna do well.
And did you change anything about the videos, like when you were like trying again, or it was just the same video but just the timing was different?
It was that I posted it on a different platform, so Instagram, and then that
Okay.
I just like posted it around New Year's. But I think one video that went viral kind of caused an uplift in the other tracking videos.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, like I can share my social media numbers as well.
Yes. Yes.
But
Please. Like, if you want, we can try to pull the screen, and for everyone who's listening, I will try to also like say it. So if you want, let's pull it up.
okay,
Um,
I'll share my social media stuff first then.
okay. Yes.
So this is the platform that I use to schedule everything, but
Hmm.
it also has my post analytics, except for
Okay.
Twitter, because I think they changed their API and now it's like super expensive for
Yes.
these platforms. So they make you pay for it
S-
now.
Okay. So you manage all of your social from one place, right? Like from this tool. I think
Yes.
this is metricool, right?
Yes,
So
it is.
yeah.
Um,
So you use it free. Okay. Cool. And we
Yeah,
can
this is
see
completely
here.
free. I
Mm,
don't like to go by views or likes because I feel like those are vanity metrics. I like to go by saves, shares, and comments.
mm,
So if you
very
look at
interesting.
the most saved content, it was workplace documentation. And that's the template I made the most money from and the video that
Mm,
went the most viral. And
okay.
this is basically just like how you have to document your wins and everything you do in a Notion
Hmm.
doc somewhere. And this is the post that got me, it wasn't the first post that went viral, but it was the post that got me the most followers because I was checking my Instagram analytics and it
Yeah.
seemed like some of the other posts that went viral, people didn't really care about following my account after, but this one, they followed me. And it's just interesting to see which post made them follow and which content they want more of.
Yeah, that's interesting because that's what happens with virality sometimes, right? That it goes viral, but then it doesn't translate into actual business metrics. It doesn't translate into followers or into subscribers. But I think that it's curious that you got a lot of followers, so you know that you can make more of that type of content, so you can go viral more times and get more followers, which is the ultimate goal, also.
Yeah, and also knowing what to monetize. So I
Yeah.
hosted a live workshop on workplace documentation and sent emails about workplace
Mm,
documentation because I knew that was like the biggest money maker because that most people purchase that template. It's most
yeah.
popular out of all my other ones.
That's super interesting. But you had the template before the post, right? So you actually, because you actually, I mean, I look at your products that you sell at the templates, and you have like a lot. I don't know how many you have, but it's like what 10, 15 maybe. So how do you know like what to build? So like, what's the how do you decide what to build next? As a template, for example.
Yeah, so it's mostly stuff that I already have in my life,
Okay.
so that it's not that big of a deal for me to post them. And for me, it's like I think it's normal to do. But I've had people like at work or people who have worked with me in the past, and they're like, "This is so
Hmm.
cool." So I knew there was something there, which is
Yeah.
why
Okay.
I thought it would be cool to share it. And then when I do share it, it turns out other people think it's cool too. Um,
Okay. Okay.
but let me share the proof that it's my most popular template, I think, because I need to double check the numbers. So the workplace documentation template is this one. I charged
Mm.
$10 for it. It's made 127
Wow.
sales at 1.3K. Wait, let
Yeah.
me just make sure that it's my most profitable
Yeah.
template.
I think
Yeah,
it. I
okay.
think so. I think so.
It
Yes.
is.
Yes.
The other one is
Well.
my all-in-one Notion Live template, and that one is a bit more expensive, so I got less purchases. But this
Mhm.
one, I have a YouTube tutorial for already, and it was also another video that went viral and got me a lot of followers.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, it's super cool that you see the business model. So basically, it's like you have this template, and then you make content that talks about like the thing that this template solves, and then you promote the template, basically, right? So it's a bit like that. Is it like that?
Yeah, and then what I do is I use DM automation. So every time
Mm,
somebody comments on my post, it gets boosted, but then they also get the link
nice.
via DMs. So they're gonna get a notification and won't forget about it. And I used to use ManyChat for this actually, but then it was a struggle for me because every time I posted, I had to like do the automation stuff. I wanted to
Mm,
just schedule it and forget it. So I used this other platform built by like one person and I DM him any issues and he fixes it. So it's amazing.
that's super
Um,
cool.
but I don't want to gatekeep, and I know he's gonna blow up soon. So it's get link in and then dot chat, and that's the website. Wait, actually, I can screen share how I use it as well.
Yeah, that would be cool because I've heard of ManyChat a lot for Instagram, but I didn't know about this one that we
Yeah.
can see here. So that's super cool that you use that one because I imagine that you send a lot of DMs with it, right?
Yeah.
So
So what I like about this one actually is that I don't need to like I can just schedule my posts. So in my
yeah,
scheduled posts, I write just in the caption, comment, and then have to put in
yeah.
quotation marks the keyword, and then I put the link in the caption, and then I tag them, and then their AI just scrapes the caption and knows exactly which link to send.
Wow, yeah,
So
that's pretty
I
cool.
don't even have to go on this platform. I just like do it right in my scheduling tool, and then since the caption is all they need, like everything's just scheduled, and
Mm.
it's super easy for me.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's really good because I've worked with, with other people that with other tools that do this on Twitter or LinkedIn, and these automated DMs sometimes is super hard because the APIs are like really, they don't really like it too much. When you do this kind of automation. So on Instagram, it's cool to see that you found a workaround because it usually doesn't work that well. So that's
Oh,
cool.
okay. I can act. This reminds me of another thing I have to screen share, but I'll explain what I'm sharing.
Okay,
So
cool.
this is an
I like it.
example.
Hmm.
Yeah, this is an
Okay.
example of the premium email. And then like, I have templates and checklists and stuff. And then here's like a list of tools that I use. And
Hmm.
then I still haven't edited this week's video, which is basically this. newsletter issue, but I
Right.
am going to go over exactly what each platform looks like. But like, you don't have to make a, because sometimes it's annoying to make an account to see how to use the platform. So I like screen share all of my accounts, and then I share like, this is what I use it for, and this is how you use it. But that's a video coming up soon on my YouTube. It's just such a pain to
Awesome.
edit. So
Yeah, that's another thing that I've noticed that you mentioned somewhere, that you don't like to have too many things behind like a paywall, or like behind like giving your email, stuff like that, because you like to give like information for free first, like for everyone, which is a pretty cool thing, because some people think that if you give everything for free, then no one will, subscribe to your thing or pay. But it turns out it's the contrary, right? At least in your case, it is, because you are literally giving like all your numbers and everything for free, and people keep subscribing and keep coming to you. So what do you think about that?
yeah, so I actually do that for my Instagram as well. Like when I make people DM me for a template, I send them the direct link to the template itself. They don't have to
Mm,
sign up for my email list or anything. But inside the template, it's like, if you enjoyed this or found value, like I'd appreciate if you supported me by subscribing. But the option is there. And I think that builds a better relationship, because otherwise it's like they're going to be inactive and then I'll have to clean the list, even though I have an automation for that. But it's like, I want to start the relationship off right?
that's super cool, but I'm guessing that a lot of email marketers will be super mad at you that you do that. Because the usual is like you make them the link, and then you put them through an email funnel or whatever, and you do the opposite, which is pretty cool. Honestly, I think it's a cool thing to do, and as you said, it builds a trust relationship, and then actually the people that sign up is people that actually want to receive your emails, right?
Yeah. And then
Which
what I
is,
found
yeah.
interesting was that some people don't follow me, but they DM me and they sign up for my mailing list. But they want to keep their Instagram clean, so they don't follow me. And then
Okay.
the opposite is true for some other people. They don't like checking their emails. They don't want their emails to get spammed. So instead, they only follow me on
Mm,
Instagram. And that's why I have to like repurpose all my content and distribute it
yeah.
everywhere and like schedule everything.
Yeah, that's super cool. So I have a question before we jump into like maybe the monetization more part of it. I have a question on the content creation, because as you mentioned, like one of the keys of your growth like so fast is that you have gone viral a few times. Have you noticed like a trend in like all of that content that has gone viral for you? Is there like a thing that you say, okay, when I talk about these things, or when I talk about in this way, this goes viral? Have you noticed that? Like,
Yeah, so most of it is like something truly weird and interesting that people can find useful. So one of it
mm,
was the workplace documentation. Another one was for like tracking your life. And another one that I knew would do really well because it was so weird and I was almost hesitant to share it is, you know how I track everything in my life? I
mhm.
also track how many times I poop every day. So I went through that entire poop tracking list and I was like trying to find correlations between
That's
like
crazy.
pooping and crying. Yeah, and then people loved that, but I don't think I got as
Mm.
many followers from that as from the other more useful stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. But it's also like a fun thing, and it shows a bit of maybe personality too. Like you are like not always like workplace and things like that more serious. It's like there is a bit of
yeah.
everything, literally.
A lot of people, they tell me I went famous for like my productivity and tracking, but on my
Mm,
Instagram stories I post a lot of other stuff about my life. So I post about the food that I'm eating, I post
okay.
about other stuff like exercise because I'm training for a triathlon. But
Mm,
a lot of people reply to those stories and they're like, you are my inspiration for all areas of my life. I want to exercise and like eat
wow.
well like you do. And then it just you build a more loyal audience and like have more valuable relationships with people that
Yeah,
way.
yeah,
um
definitely. Yeah, it's
Wait,
cool
but
because you are mixing like real life with like the business side, but you're
yeah,
also showing that you are a real person behind it, that eats and trains for a triathlon, which is kind of crazy. I don't know how you do that.
yeah, I
So
think
yeah.
well, for creator business, it's so different because like people follow you for you. I noticed that sometimes
Mhm.
because I do kind of the similar thing for work. I practice making videos for my work's TikTok, which I grew to like almost 50K
Mm.
followers, but then I stopped being active on it. A lot of people, they're like, oh, this is a company account. I don't trust it. But when I post something similar on my personal account, a lot of
Yeah.
people trust it more because it's like more real. So that's why I'm so bullish on creator economy.
Yeah.
But sometimes startups want to sponsor me and then they don't understand that it's more of a brand awareness channel and like you get better
Yeah.
results if I post multiple videos than just one video. So sometimes they're like, I can't get attributable conversions, but I'm like, So
Yeah.
it's like more brand.
Yeah, I understand that from a brand perspective because, like, my actual day job is I work at a startup in marketing, and we do a lot of creator partnerships. And sometimes, it's hard to get money for a creator. If I talk with the CMO or whatever, it's like, okay, this creator costs like 5K, and he's like, okay, and what's the return? And sometimes they're getting like, impressions are great, but we want conversions. So that's a tricky conversation. But I mean, I get the brands, but I also understand you saying brands, okay, this is not that much of a conversion channel. This is like a awareness channel. So I mean, I
Yeah.
totally understand that.
That's why I tend to also like give them usage rights so they can run it as ads and then
Mm,
see how like the clicks are doing and if it actually
smart.
performs.
Do you charge for that? Curious.
I do I buy it?
If you charge for it, like
Oh
for the
yeah, like
usage rights.
you always have to charge extra for all these extra things.
Okay.
But if it's somebody I know, or if it's like a small startup and I know they can't really afford it, then I
Yeah.
give them
Okay.
a
Yeah.
big discount. But usually, like a lot of influencers don't know this, but you have to charge for usage rights, link in bio, story posts. Like there's
Yes.
so many things that you can charge for, and then some
Yes.
people just undercharge themselves. But yeah,
Yeah. Okay. So now that we are talking about money, why don't we take, like, because you also have the the
wait,
numbers, right?
yeah, I can share that in a bit, but let me just share really quickly the hooks that I found worked
Okay. Yeah.
because we were
Interesting.
talking about videos that
Yes. Yes.
work.
Yes. Let's see that.
So I actually did this for my personal brand and then also in the past for my work account. And then for my work account, one video, it was all the same video, by the way. The only thing
Hmm.
different was the text on the screen for like the first 2 seconds. One video got like 500K views and the rest only got a few thousand. So this is the impact of testing hooks.
Wow.
And then for my personal brand, the most views was like 5K, which isn't that much, but it was still interesting to test. So
Yeah.
I did a video on this, and I actually also tested this video because I had two different thumbnails, and I posted with one
Mm.
thumbnail, and it didn't get too many views from YouTube because I didn't promote it in any other channel. And I tested the
Yeah.
second thumbnail, which just says "Stop wasting time," and then the title is like "How to test video hooks to go viral." And then as soon as I swapped the thumbnails, like you could just see the spike go up. And then this
Yeah.
is all
Yeah.
traffic only from YouTube because I was very intentional about not linking it anywhere else. So that
Mm.
was interesting to see. But in the actual
Yeah.
experiment, I had the exact same video, only the first 2 seconds were different. And I outlined what was different. So some of the videos, it had a green screen with like a visual that
Yeah.
intrigued people. They wanted to watch more. Some of it was just like my blank white wall behind me. And then I also, okay, so first there was the visual hook, what you see, and then there's the
Hmm.
text hook, which is the text on screen. So like 3 ways to do unhinged life tracking my entire life. No, 3 of my best tracking tips, exposing my tracking system. And then what I said was also different. So in the
Mm.
captions and you like what you
Okay.
hear is like, I track my entire life, or 3 organization tips, and I turn my life into a product. So I was
Wow.
just trying to test educational
Yeah.
versus like the entire video was the same, right? So it was still educational and entertaining, but
Hmm.
only the hook was different. And then like one of the hooks was educational, one of the hooks was like exposing this, and then one of the
Yeah.
hooks was like very straightforward, like I track my entire life is what I said. And then you could just see the difference in views. So I tested on TikTok and on YouTube just to see which videos perform best on both of them. And
Yeah.
the one where it says like exposing my system,
Mm.
that one made
Yeah.
people curious to keep watching, so it got the most views. And the educational one, like 3 ways to do this, nobody wanted to watch a boring video like that, I guess, so
Yeah.
it got the
Yeah.
least views.
Yeah. I got the feeling that the exposing one would be the best one, because it
Yeah.
was that's the one that I'm like, yes, I want to know. Expose me.
But not only that, I think I said it twice. So like two of them had exposing this,
Yeah.
but I said different things. One of them was I turn my life into a product, and one of them was I track my life. And then one of them
Mm.
also had the dashboard background, which made people curious what it was. And one
Yeah.
of them
Yeah.
just was a blank wall. And then you can see, even though I put like exposing this, it's not just that made people keep watching. It's also like the visual hook in the background, and then the
Yeah.
straightforward, like I track my entire life. So there's like 3 different hooks in one video, like the visual
That's
one,
crazy.
and then the text on screen, and then what I actually say.
That's
And then I
crazy.
have
So
some main takeaways here as well, but all of that is in my YouTube video. Like I break down how to do all of it and my
yeah.
learnings and best practices. So
So you are like very, as I can see, like you are very experiment focused. Like you like to run like a lot of experiments and data focus. I see. Do you do that for like I mean, I understand you don't do it for like every piece of content, right? But or do you?
I don't do it for every piece of content. It's only the ones that I feel like I want to test or do well, because
Okay.
it's just too much work otherwise. And that was in my YouTube video. I gave best practices for like how to test it and like when you should test it. Because
Mm.
now that I know this test, I can kind of use that for my future videos without needing to test them.
Yeah, got it. Okay, yeah, that's super cool. I love that. And it's so cool that you share it, actually. I mean, even if it's for like premium subscribers, like, this is type of information that not so many creators share in the open, because it's literally how the business is running. It's like literally, how it works behind the scenes. So it's super cool to see. So,
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think it's
like
super cool that you do it.
I part of the reason why I share everything is because I also want other people to give me their thoughts. So like one thing was
Mm.
when I started posting YouTube videos, obviously they weren't very good, but I just wanted to get started and get in that habit and start practicing, because that's how I got great at making short form video. Like my first video was so bad. And then some people, like in every video, I'm like, please leave a comment if you have any feedback for how I can improve. Some people said you need a better mic. So then the next video, I dug up my
Okay.
old mic and I noticed more views. And then somebody the other week said I needed more B-roll to make it more engaging, because the content was good. It's just like I needed to vary,
Yeah.
um, visual variety. So I'm going to do that for my next video. So it's just like
Nice.
feedback to improve.
Yeah, and you listen to your audience, actually. So that's really interesting and really smart too, in my opinion.
Yeah, and then something I discovered with long form video that I'm hoping this video would do well in is mini hooks throughout the video. So in the very
Mm.
beginning of the video, I tested out like saying the outline, and then I tested out like kind of teasing and being like, I'm gonna share this in like a few minutes, or like I have this at the end. And I think
Yeah.
that's hopefully why this podcast or this video would do well as well, because we keep saying like we're gonna get to the numbers, the revenue, but then we
Yeah,
just
that's
talk
true.
about other stuff.
But we have to wait for the numbers. Yeah, that's cool. No, I love that, and I love that you are always iterating and improving. I think that's something that's smart for creators to do. Continue test the content all the time. And even if you find something that works, just keep seeing the ways that you can even make it
Yeah.
better, right?
And I think
So
maybe I have an unfair advantage because my full-time job is a growth marketer for an education company, and I
yeah.
took a data analyst course with them. So it's like I want to share this knowledge as well, because not everybody has had those advantages that I've had.
Yeah, I also come from a marketing background, so that really helps. When you do this kind of stuff, like we are number nerds, and stuff like that, and data nerds. So I totally get it. But which, by the way, I also wanted to mention, like, and before we get to the numbers, another mini hook. Um, you mentioned you have a full time job. How do you do so much content and so much like everything on top of like having a full time job, and on top of like, because you are a nomad, right? So you're traveling the world more or less every few weeks. So how do you manage like all of that? How crazy
Yeah.
is that?
It gets hectic sometimes, but I actually don't even spend that much time working, because I'm doing like a 75 hard challenge where you have to spend 45 minutes outside working out, and then
Yeah,
another
yeah.
45 minutes working out indoors or like doing whatever. So like hours of my time is spent going outside, like taking care of
Mhm.
myself, things like that. Like I have to go touch grass, or else I like mentally I'm not good. Um, so I think for me, I'm really lucky because I have a remote job, and then like I work nighttime, evening, because I work on Australian time zone,
Okay.
and it's like very flexible. I can get a lot done very quickly. So I have
Yeah.
that flexibility. And usually what I do for my own creative business throughout the day is in the morning I wake up and like I do my own stuff. In the afternoon I can like go to my work meetings.
Yeah.
I'm a night owl, so my work meetings are until like 12 a.m., which is fine for me,
Wow.
but
Yeah.
not good for everyone, right? So I'm just like
Yeah.
used to working at night, whereas other people, I think they might get tired from like going into the office and stuff. So my schedule is usually in the morning, I do my own stuff. And then during work hours, if I think of something or if I learn something, sometimes I tweet it. So some of the learnings are from my full-time job as well.
Mm.
And at the end of the week, I just compile all the tweets, and then that's when I make all my content. Like I batch film everything, and then I schedule everything. So like the entire week, I can just kind of take it easy.
Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense, and that's a great way to actually manage like a full time thing with content creation on the side. Is like batching things and not leaving it for the day, because if you have like an urgency at work or you have to like do whatever, you won't do the content for that day, and that's super easy to like just
Yeah.
not do it for the next day and the next day. So I think that's super cool.
I also have my ROI graphs, which I will share.
Mm,
But you can see, like, sometimes I spend so much time on content, but then it doesn't even matter because like the ROI is not there. And then sometimes I'll spend not a lot of time on like this other revenue stream, and then you can see the ROI is just like super high.
yeah.
Because like B2B especially, they pay a lot more.
Yeah, I was going to ask because that's one of the things that I saw, like your monetization reports. I think I watched your March video actually, so for last month, um, and you mentioned that B2B was higher. So I'm interested in that, because as a creator, how do you manage both? Like the B2B part of it and the B2C part of it. So maybe you can talk a bit about that too, because I think that's interesting for other creators.
Yeah, actually, for the B2B side, it's mostly like sponsorships or other
Yeah.
businesses, so like kind of agency related work. And that is mainly because I put my email in my bio, like on
Hmm.
most of my creator platforms. I don't think I have it on Twitter, but like Instagram for sure. And ever since then, people keep emailing me with opportunities. But this month, I can share my finances for April, but like I got a lot less B2B because like I had to refuse some of the
Yeah, of course.
sponsorship because it wasn't really relevant to my audience. But that's just what happens when you put the
Hmm.
link in your email in your bio. So this was for April. I actually did two different versions for April because I sent a few invoices, but they weren't due until later in May. So even though I made the
Okay.
money in April, it was like, it didn't hit my bank account till May. So I actually made two versions. One was cash basis accounting, the other was accrual. And you can see the difference. So the total I made
Yeah.
this in April, like revenue, not profit, is 2.5K if I went by
Hmm.
like the actual money I received this month. But if I
Yeah.
did like accrual basis, which is like,
Wow.
all the invoices I sent, it's almost 10K. Um, so
Almost super short of the 10K, right?
I
It's like
know.
literally $5 short.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But
But yeah,
yeah,
no, that's super good. That's super cool.
yeah, I can dive into more of this, but let me talk about the ROI on my time first. So
Yes,
B2B and
yes.
B2C, it's very like similar numbers here because sponsors pay a lot. You really only need like one or two sponsors to make up for like hundreds of template sales. And
Mm,
so 58% of my income was from B2B and 42% was B2C. And then I looked at the time I spent. So like 44 hours for B2B and 20 hours for B2C.
okay.
And you can just see the ROI graph. Like the ROI is much higher for B2B than B2C. I think,
Yeah.
yeah, the ROI is just like
Yeah.
44 versus 20. So like that's almost double that of
Yeah.
B2C.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but the other thing is like, this is like, this makes a ton of sense. Obviously, like B2B, which is sponsorships, as you said, and everything. Like brands are willing to pay more because they have more budget than usually like regular people. Also, you are selling like, let's say, lower ticket products. So your templates are like 5, 10, $40. It's not like 100 or 200. Maybe in the future you will have something like that, probably, like a product like that. But right now you don't. So I mean, it makes sense that's higher, but on the other end, like a lot of people would argue that they prefer to have like more B2C things because it's like more B2C revenue. I mean, because it's more under your control, right? Because if you have like this template and you know that you send 5 emails a month, you will sell like 2K, for example. But sponsorships,
Yeah.
1 month can be 10K, next month can be zero, right? So how do you feel about that? How do you think
That's
about that part?
that's exactly why I was so confused about where to focus on because I was so like I want this, but I also want that, and it's just like splitting my focus everywhere. And
Yeah.
my toxic trait is thinking I can do everything, but it just takes a lot longer. So like as you can
Mm,
see here, um, my revenue here is
yeah.
like since my focus was very split the last month or so, and then like the virality kind of went down after. I went viral like end of December, early January, but I didn't charge for anything in January. So it's like very you can tell that there was a lack of focus because I didn't push out as many products or promote my products
Mm,
this month just because I was focusing on like so many different areas of the business.
yeah.
And then you can see as a result of that, it kind of went down. But now I guess next month is set because I got some sponsorships and contracts in the works.
Yeah. Yeah, so the next month is gonna be really good. Okay, yeah, but as I said, like super interesting to see that you track everything. I think this is super smart, and to see like the differences. So you have like here we are looking at a graphic between difference between the sponsorships between newsletter and Instagram,
Yeah.
which that's the other thing because when we mentioned your newsletter is on the productivity side and so on. Do you get the same sponsors for like Instagram and newsletter, or is like separate? They usually just want to sponsor one channel. Do they want to sponsor both? I think that's also like an interesting thing.
Yeah, what I've found is it depends on the company. Some companies they only want like a video. Other
Okay.
companies they want like conversions, which I think are easier to track with newsletter because they can track all the clicks. Actually, most of my newsletter sponsors come from Beehive's ad network,
Yeah.
so that's why like most months it's more consistent because every week they just send me ad opportunities. Whereas for Instagram, it's like I don't really do too much outreach, so it's just waiting for them to see my email, my bio, and then emailing me and then seeing if it's a fit. So,
Yeah. Is that something that you want to change, like doing outreach to brands that actually align, or are you still like, well, sponsorships, like just keep them inbound and that's it?
yeah, I think I prefer inbound because like I did try to reach out to a lot of different companies, but it's
Mm.
just so hard chasing them down and like always following up. And I was like, this is not where I want to be spending my time.
Yeah,
So,
makes
and I
sense.
feel like inbound, like it's a lot easier to close the deal as well. So,
And with Behave, because I actually saw that you tweeted once that you made like, that Behave is actually really reliable for you, that it brings like a ton of money. So how do you do that? Because is this type of ads that you make money by the click, right? So how many clicks you get paid like, $1, $2, I don't know.
yeah.
So is there anything special that you do that, to get more clicks, or is it just that, you put it there and it works?
I think I got a lot of money from the newsletter. Like you can see in January, February, March, it's like
Yeah.
a lot of money from sponsorships because everybody was very engaged with my content. Some people were like, "Oh, I clicked on this ad and then like I purchased it because I wanted to support you, or because like I found it relevant, but also because I wanted to support you." So that
Yeah.
was really nice of them to do. But in April, like I cleaned out my entire list because my open
Mm.
rates were dropping, and I didn't want that, which is
Yeah.
why there's like less sponsorship money and yeah. So
Yeah.
there's like so much that I could talk about with Beehive because it was very interesting since I actually have less Beehive newsletter subscribers than I do Instagram followers. Like Instagram, I have 70K, but for subscribers, since I cleaned out my list, it's been like 11K or something like that.
Mm.
So, but I
Yeah.
still make more money from the newsletter than from Instagram. And I try to post on Instagram almost every day, but Beehive newsletter, the free version at least, is once a week. And so is the premium one, but like basically I write two newsletters, one free and one paid.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it doesn't take me that long to write the newsletter. It does take me a while to write the premium one, which makes sense because it's paid, but the free one, like maybe 30 minutes or like
Wow. That's good.
45. Yeah. And then
No,
for Instagram, it's like I have to film and I have to edit and I have to schedule
yeah,
and
of
like make the
course.
captions. So like you can see
Yeah.
ROI is a lot higher for newsletter.
Is that something that in the future you are thinking about, like, well, maybe I should just focus more on email because the ROI is higher? It takes less for me to do it. Or like, how do you think about that?
I think I still like making videos on Instagram.
Okay.
Email is good, but I feel like I don't get the same level of feedback. Like some people vote in my posts and reply to the email, but on Instagram, people are like commenting stuff. They're DMing me. They're replying to my stories, and that makes me really like posting content. So I
Yeah.
like
Got
writing
it.
and posting content. So like just because I like both, I'm gonna continue doing both.
Yeah. As long as you can do it, that's, I mean, makes a lot of sense. Okay. Can we take a look at the all the revenue streams, because I think you highlight there that the thing that you
Oh
shared at the beginning,
yes. Okay.
where we saw
So
the breakdown.
these are my revenue streams for April. So most
Cool.
of it was from coaching, and
Awesome.
then some of it was from templates and subscribers and sponsors. So like templates, premium subscribers and sponsors are pretty evenly split, and coaching is like 40% of this pie chart.
Yeah.
But this is like cash basis accounting, like how much money I actually received. Whereas
Yeah.
accrual, it's like agency related work. So this is like newsletter setup services and like helping
Mm.
people get organized on Notion. That's 45%, which is like 4.5K. And then after that is like sponsors, because I landed a pretty big sponsor just for like one Instagram video, and that was like $2,000.
Wow,
And
great.
then yeah, I had to negotiate hard for that one, by the way, which is like another thing that I feel like influencers aren't really taught. So I had an article about how to negotiate and like what I did. Like I screenshotted the email and blurred out the sponsor's name and everything. Um,
No, that's super cool. So with the agency work that you do, so that's like a bit more service based. Is that because people were asking you to do like, hey, I need help with this, and you're like, yeah, sure, I charge this for it, kind of
yeah.
like that.
That's kind of what I mean by focus being split, because every time someone requests something from me, I have to make a custom package, like proposal, scope of work
Yeah,
for
yeah,
them. But I think that's okay to do once I start, like when I'm getting started, because I'm
yeah,
kind
for
of
sure.
seeing where the demand is and then kind of doing it. So then I have a template for what to do in the future if I want to pursue it. But right now I am doing a lot of like agency one-on-one coaching work, because my long-term goal is to eventually like take all of those insights and see what questions that people are asking, so I can turn it into like a course or a book or something. But I
Yes.
need to like be able to talk to people and know what their problems are in order to do that. So I don't
Mm.
mind trading like my time for money at this stage right now, because it'll lead to better insights and more
Yeah.
valuable product in the future.
Yeah, that's super smart, and that was going to be my next question. Like, what's the end goal? So, do you want to be like 100% productized in the future? I understand, like, you don't want to have like time for money. Once you have that, right? So, it's that's the end goal.
Yeah, actually, I do like talking to people a lot and going to meetings and stuff and like hosting events. It's just I travel a lot, so like sometimes the time zones are a little bit difficult.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
in February, I actually made okay, almost 2K in February. That was kind of when I kind of started charging for my stuff. I had to take meetings at like 1 or 2 a.m. because I was in a different time zone, which
yeah,
like I was willing to do, but it was just like I wish I could reschedule, but then another time didn't work. So that's
yeah,
why I've been so hesitant in also starting a community, because once you get popular on Instagram, you have all these people DMing me like, I can set up your mailing list, or like I can set up a community for you. And I
yeah,
always said no, because like I didn't want to manage a community. I didn't want to like hop on weekly live calls with a community, even though I know I would like it. It's just my schedule is sometimes unpredictable and I don't know which time zone I'll be in. So
yeah,
I had to say no to that potential revenue stream, even though it could be like, somebody told me I could get 20K per month with like a premium community, whereas people pay,
mm,
because like I just have so many followers, right? If I'm able to convert like 1% of them, this is like how much I can make and things like that. But I
yeah.
was like, I'm not willing to spend my time on the community, even though I know I would like it. It's just I didn't want my whole life to be like, I need to check what people are posting right now.
Yeah, a community is like really intense, I would say. I mean, I experienced it within myself, and I know other people that have ones, and I would say the intensity is the word, especially
Yeah.
if you are alone early on, or if just you and maybe someone else is like you need to be in charge of everything, you need to be talking to people, you need to be showing up for like all of the meetings. So if in your case you are like traveling and you don't have that much, time and so on, it could be a little bit tricky for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Mm.
Do you have like anything else you wanna share about like these numbers? Because I mean, first of all, I thank you for sharing this because this is crazy. Like no one ever shared that much in this podcast or anything. So that's super cool. But do you have like anything else that?
Yeah, I think my main thing, like if people are listening to this for advice, my main thing is, what I did was I tried to do as much as I could just to learn. And then I'm gonna like focus on what works. Like, because I didn't want to come up with something and put all this effort and then it turns out nobody wants it. Because like from the
Yeah.
startup mindset, I'm like, I need to validate before I do anything. So
Yeah.
if you look at my income streams, in January, it was mostly premium subscribers, because there was, of course, churn, which I forgot to account for. So in January, I made a lot more from premium subscribers and from sponsorships and stuff. And then February, you can see like most of it was sponsors. Some was like agency services, which was just me making videos and managing the social media account of a brand. I also tried out doing masterclass, and this one I didn't make enough for it to like really
Mm.
make it
Yeah.
worth doing again, I think. Because I had to like prepare all the slides and I had to like do all the emails, and I felt
Yeah.
like maybe my emails weren't the best because I didn't like being too salesy, and it was like, pay for my masterclass, and I was like, I feel weird sending this. So I think in the future, if I feel weird about anything, I'm just not going to do it. Like I have to be excited about it. And then I also tried out mentorship because I wanted to validate my one-on-one coaching service. So before I even pitched it to my audience, I signed up for a mentor cruise. And a lot of people
Mm.
actually reached out to me, which I did not expect. And I learned a lot about the people I want to work with versus the people I didn't. Because some people I tried
Yes.
my best to help, but like if they don't want to take action to help themselves, and I'm like, why are you wasting your money? And that also led to high churn. So in my one-on-one consultations, which I started doing after trying mentorship for 2 months, I was like, I'm only gonna accept people who I think will like put in the work and who I can help a lot more.
Yeah.
So like in March, it was a lot of sponsors, agency services again, and I made a lot from templates, but I do cash basis accounting. So actually most of the template sales were made in February. It's just
Okay.
they got paid out in March. And then April, it's like completely different. I started focusing more on high ticket, and I wrote about this in my premium newsletter. I was like looking at my ROI graphs, and like, you know, you can see B2B is like super high, and then B2C is like maybe half that. So I was like, I'm going to focus on more high ticket, working with businesses more, like, you know, high ticket coaching. And then that's what I did. And you can see that reflected in my finances in April, because I was more intentional about doing more
Yeah.
high ticket, and like I announced it to everybody on my premium subscribers list. So
Yeah, I think it's super cool to see how that has been evolving, and I mean, it literally has been evolving in like in 4 months. So it's not that since January to today, which is 4 months literally. Uh, but it's super cool to see how you are experimenting with all of these kinds of making money online. That the creator can make. Like coaching, like sponsorships, all of that. And at the end of the day, by the end of the year, you probably will stick with the model that works best for you, that has more ROI, and just with that it will be easier for you to scale. But if you haven't tried it first, which is the what you're doing right now, I think you are at the stage that you need to try this stuff. You never know what will work, right? So I
yeah,
think your approach is really smart and data driven, which is really cool too and interesting. So I think it's super cool that you're doing it like that.
yeah, thanks. Another thing I just want to be mindful of is sometimes your instincts are right. So if you're really excited about something and you think people will like it, you have to post about it multiple times and not,
Yes.
because like if you just have one data point to go off of, it's not really accurate. So an example of this was on my Twitter, I tried promoting my playbooks waitlist. So I actually polled people a lot. So I'm like, do you want to see a short form video, like influencer marketing playbook, or like a newsletter one? And everybody picked newsletter. So I was like, okay, I'm going to write this. And I have an outline for it. So I wrote the outline. And I'm like, what do you guys think? Like, do you think I should add or
Mhm.
remove anything? And then I always link the waitlist. But a lot
Mm.
of people can like my tweets, but I look at how many like
Yeah,
signups I get
yeah.
on the wait list. So I'm not gonna write it and make time for it until I get at least like 100 submissions on the wait list. And right now I have 42. So I'm just gonna keep promoting it and like build the
Yeah,
hype.
until you get there. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes a ton of sense to
Yeah.
pre-validate before anything.
But that's also what happened before I went viral. Like I knew there was something like that I had that was really cool, and I posted it once. It didn't take off, so I had to post it multiple times before it finally took off. So if there's something that I have conviction on, I'm gonna post it a lot more than once.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool too, because sometimes we just post once and it doesn't work for whatever reason, and we scrape it. But if you know, like, okay, no, this thing is good, maybe it's just like the timing, as you said, like in the beginning with your viral videos, maybe it's just the timing or whatever. So if you have that conviction, just go for it. I think that's a really good advice. um, we can start to wrap it up. Do you have like any last piece of advice? Someone that is actually listening to this and is like, okay, yes, I want to be like her. This is super cool. Where would you point them to get started? What would you say that's the first three things they need to do?
Yeah, so I actually got this question a lot from like people I do discovery calls and one-on-one
Yeah.
consultations with. And what I found inspires them the most was sharing like my own personal story. So the advice is hidden in the story. Basically, I started when I was hired at my full-time job, and I had to make TikToks. I was managing the social media along with a lot of other things. And my first TikTok was really bad. Like I had a whole script. I was like memorizing the script. It was so awkward. Like the lighting wasn't good. And I was like looking back on it, it was so bad. But I just kept making more and more TikToks. I was posting like 5 times a day, but all of the TikToks kind of sucked. It was like me filming my screen and there's text on screen, or like me filming my face and then text on the screen. Like I wasn't even saying
Mhm.
anything. But that gave me a lot of practice. And then 1 year later, I started marathon training. So I was like, I want to document this for me to look back on in the future and maybe inspire some people in the process. So
Hmm.
I every single day I made a vlog, and that was how I practiced. Like my first vlog and then my last vlog, you can like after the marathon, you can see the
Yeah.
difference. So I would train for like 1 or 2 months, which I don't recommend because you need longer than that for marathon training.
Yeah.
But I every single day, like I would just film little bits about my life, and at the end at nighttime, I would just edit a video and do a voiceover. And then some of the videos, none of the videos went viral, obviously, but then that made me more confident with editing and getting faster and like seeing what looks better. And then
Yeah.
I started posting like other content. So like after my marathon, I was like, let me try this entertainment content, like travel content, food content, and like productivity content. And I really wanted to be in travel and everything, but it was just so hard to dig up all my old travel videos and like put it together and like,
Yeah.
so what ended up easiest for me to create was productivity content. And since I already had all of those other skills from editing vlogs and like not going viral, but I still got a lot of video editing skills, that I think was what made one of my videos go viral because it was like posting at the right time, but also the video had to be good in the first place.
Yeah. Of course.
And then, of course, after I went viral, I had to get very fast at editing and posting my videos to make them engaging so that people would continue following me and watching my videos. So, my biggest piece of advice I say was consistency because I think a lot of people give up before
Mhm.
they have that chance to go viral. But if you
Yeah.
keep putting in the reps, like eventually, like one of them is gonna do well.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. Consistency always wins. It's super cliche, but it's the truth, right?
Yeah, that
So,
plus pre-validating before you put in a lot of effort
yes.
into building something. Because I didn't have an email newsletter when I went viral. Like in my bio, I just wrote
Mm.
"coming soon" because as a marketer, I'm like I need to collect emails. I
Yeah.
wasn't gonna put in the effort every single week to write a newsletter. So when I did go viral, I got a lot of subscribers because people were checking out my profile, and that's how I grew to like 11K in just 2 weeks. And what I noticed is that because I had already optimized my profile, people were more likely to subscribe because some of my other friends also went viral, but then they got no subscribers, or
Yeah.
like they didn't get any followers. So my view to follow conversion rate and my view to newsletter subscribe conversion rate was really high because like I optimized all these different things.
Yeah.
And then, it's just like there's a lot of little things that add up if you have the experience and if you're consistent with it. So I would say like consistency is most important. Everything else comes after that, including like putting in all this effort to build like something that you think
Mm.
people would like or a newsletter. Because I only started writing weekly once I got enough subscribers.
Yeah, I love that. I love that part too. Like, just don't do it before you know for sure that people like want it. So I
Yeah.
think that's another great piece of advice. Well, thanks a lot for sharing so much, literally, on the podcast. I really appreciate you coming. So, where can people find more about you? Like, I mean, we talked about like everything that you have, but where can people find you right now?
Yeah, so I'm on like all the social media platforms because what's interesting is I noticed some videos don't do well on Instagram, but they do very well
Mm.
on YouTube. And I'm getting emails from people saying, I found you from YouTube or I found you from
Mm.
like all these other different platforms that's not Instagram, which is
Yeah.
my biggest following. So that's like why I schedule everything everywhere. So my username is Vegan Tech Nomad on all the social platforms, but Twitter, I'm Jennifer Joe, CHOU. 25.
Okay. Perfect. Super cool. Thanks again, Jennifer. And, see everyone else on the next episode.